We are live. Yay, we are live.
Awesome.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Ruth Clark. Welcome to the first Wednesday Wisdom. Well, I'd like to say it's Women's Wednesday Wisdom because we are going to be highlighting women and their expertise and sharing their zones of genius on this program. And really, within the Facebook group, I want to. My goal is to have every single person from the group highlighted in this program so they can share their experiences, what they want to share with people, their story, because we learn from each other, and everyone has something to teach. I believe firmly. So, with that being said, our first guest, I really thought it was really important to focus on health and functional medicine, health and nutrition, because without our health, that's it. We really nothing else. We can do it. Nothing else without having optimal health. And I really want everyone to really embrace their vitality and do the things that they can do to increase their vitality. So I welcome you, Ruth. Thank you for coming on.
I'm so excited to be here, Liz. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to give you a little background on Ruth, and then we'll jump into the interview. Okay. So Ruth Clark is a registered dietitian and functional nutritionist with a BS in human nutrition, a master's degree in public health from Boston University, and over 35 years of experience in healthcare. She has held positions at both Harvard and Tufts teaching hospitals, not too shabby, corporate America, and was formerly executive director of wellness programming for Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Boston. For the past 25 years, Ruth has specialized in helping midlife and older women who are struggling with weight, fatigue, and mood to create more vitality in their lives. She is the best-selling author of Cool the Fire, Curb Inflammation, and Balance Hormones, which I ordered this morning. I'm very looking forward to getting it. Yes. The book includes 10 high-impact nutritional strategies, over 150 delicious, healthy, and healing recipes, which integrate into 28 days of mindful menus. She is a nationally known speaker, nutrition speaker, a former member of the Scientific Advisory Board for several nutrition-related companies, has authored several articles in medical journals and the lay press, and has produced a series of nationally distributed CDs on nutritional supplementation. She is also certified by Mind Body Institute of Boston. And I'll tell you a little bit later where you can reach Ruth directly in order to potentially work from her and glean her wisdom, more of her wisdom. So let's just start with a little brief introduction from you, Ruth, just tell us about yourself, about how you got started in this long, passionate field of nutrition and healthcare.
I would love to. Yeah. And, Liz, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm delighted to be with you in your group. In fact, I just, was with a client who I recommended to come join us in your beautiful Ageless Goddess Vibe Tribe. I love that name. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So I guess I would have to say that my journey started in nutrition when I was pretty young. And it was because when I was 9 years old, my dad, who was only 43 years old, died of heart disease. And, of course, that was stressful and, very, very difficult. And, I kind of went a little sideways in high school and didn't really go on to college right after school because the truth was I didn't know what I wanted to be. But I was very blessed in the fact that somebody gave me this book, and some of your listeners might remember her. That was written by Adele Davis, who was a huge guru back in the late 1960s and 70s about nutrition. And that book changed my life because I realized that I was going to be able to help other families not have to live the trauma that we had to live by helping them be healthier and not have that happen. So, it inspired me. I actually, had to go back and retake the SATs and all that jazz, but got myself back into undergraduate school. And then when I was in my dietetic internship, just graduated from that, my mother died, and she was only 60 years old. And of course, I was devastated by that. But I was also honestly terrified because I realized I had both of those people's genes. And literally, I actually lived my life for several years thinking I was never going to make it past the age of 60. But then fortunately, I had that book given to me and I had made the right choice career wise. So I got to learn very early on, before wellness was even a known word, that
Mhm.
80% of cardiovascular disease is totally preventable. And when I learned that, it empowered me in a very, very big way. And it really has become my life mission to help people learn that same thing, that we have tremendous control over what happens to us in terms of our health because of what the choices are that we make every single day. And I know you describe yourself as a wellness fanatic. I describe myself as the same thing because I just realized that I could take control. And then I came to realize, as I started to go through the aging process myself, that age is just a number. It has nothing to do with what we can do and how we feel and all of that. That has
Amen.
everything.
Amen to that.
Exactly. With the choices that we make every day. So that's really what has empowered me to be, on the journey that I have been on and helping people along those lines.
I love that. I mean, I love that our genes are not our destiny, right? I think that's so true, and people don't. Not everybody knows that, so such an important message to get out there. And I love that you turned your trauma. That was pretty like capital T trauma you went through as a 9-year-old, and then again, and into your passion, and into a force for good. I think that's just beautiful and amazing. So it's great. Um, so, I think, what I hear a lot of is that doctors are often like, you go in and they think that, that women are just overreacting, or they're stressed, or they're, it's part of aging. Menopause, all the things. And I don't buy into that. I don't, I just, I, it pisses me off. And
I get
so,
it.
so I guess I would ask you, about your field. Is there a myth or something that you want to debunk for the audience that kind of is just not true about
Yeah.
nutrition, about your profession?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'd like to dovetail off of what you just said. Here's the
Mhm.
thing that, I'm sure that this has happened to you, and I'm sure it's happened to many of your listeners. And that is when somebody tells you it's just stress. Do you ever have that happen?
Mhm.
I can remember I was in my
I do.
30s and I walked around all the time feeling like I had this tight band on my head. And the doctor was like, it's just stress. And that's just like, stress is one of the most destructive things. Now I think we know more about it than back when I got told that, but still. And I the other thing that really irks me that's, I think very common is that when it comes to nutrition and really your health, that one size does not fit all. We are all different. I mean, literally, if you and I just think about what's the difference between you and I, we don't have the same hair color. We don't have the same eye color. We don't look the same. We don't talk the same. I'm sure we don't walk the same. Why
Mhm.
would we ever think that you and I should be on the same program? But I think there's so many programs that are out there. All of them say they're the best,
Yeah.
ranging from ketogenic diet on one end of the spectrum to veganism on the other end of the spectrum. And everybody thinks you should be in their program. And
Mhm.
what I think is the truth is that we all fall somewhere on that spectrum. And I think that the best thing to do is to find out what program is best and most unique for you, because that is the program I think that people will actually follow.
Mhm. That's right. Absolutely. Wouldn't it be so boring if we all were the same, right?
It would be. It
It'd be
really
very
would.
boring, right? Right. We're all like the colors in the rainbow, the flowers, I mean, that's as different as we each are, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
absolutely. And I love that you're able to provide that for people to kind of help them figure out what is the right plan for their unique, beautiful self.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why try to fit yourself into somebody else's square hole, right?
Hmm.
But I
Absolutely.
think people feel like they need to, and they're sort of like layered with all this crud of information that's out there on the internet. And it's oftentimes I feel like I have to pick off each layer until we get to the essence of who they really are and what's going to work for them.
Absolutely. And then also just kind of ripping off all the layers of what media, food industry, and what the tell us we should be doing, in each different moment, and the myths that they have just because of money,
Right.
it's infuriating on another level. Have another whole conversation about that.
Yeah, we could.
Absolutely. So, okay, so just I know it's in general, but what are like, just if you could name a few foods or supplements that we should just all stay away from, or almost always stay away from in order for health and longevity.
Sure. I would love to do that. And what I'd like to do is kind of answer this question kind of through the lens of inflammation, because
Hmm.
I know that, a lot of your followers, are following you because they get what you're saying, and that is that we can be ageless. And I think one of the best ways to be ageless is to do everything that you can to minimize the inflammation in your body. So, that's the lens that I'm going to have this conversation around. So, I think the number one food that I would say get it out of your diet is sugar. And that's because it is one of the most inflammatory foods that we eat. And literally, it has an impact on our metabolism because, what happens inside our body is all about communication. And what sugar communicates is triggering an inflammatory process in your body. And so, I mean, if you think about how does that work? Well, inflammation is at the very root of most of the diseases that we suffer from in Western society, like heart disease and cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's and autoimmune issues, and it just goes on and on and on. So everything we can do, and then even more sort of like direct is if you allowed yourself to indulge in a lot of sugar over the holidays, take a look at your face because it shows up on your face. That inflammation will actually show in your face, and inflammatory process can actually lead to wrinkles and that sort of thing. So, sugar, I think we need to keep away from. And it's not easy. I get it, because I think sugar is one of the most addictive substances that we eat because it doesn't really have a caution sign on it. It's not like, smoking and over imbibing in alcohol or anything like that. It's very seductive too. So
Hmm.
the more that you can work to get sugar out of your diet, I think that really makes a lot of sense. And then
Can
I would say,
can I ask
yeah,
you just a double?
yeah,
I just have a question. Is there anything that you can offer as a substitute for sugar that's safe? That you would say is a safe substitute?
sure. I think sugar is an excellent subs. I'm so fruit is what I meant to say. You remember that now, right?
And it was you froze for a second like, with that face. That was great. I loved it.
So fruit, even though it does have sugar in it, and I think we all know that, it also has a ton of great nutrients and lots of fabulous fiber, all of which is really good for your health, good for the, balance of your healthy to unhealthy bacteria in your gut and all of that. So I like fruit a lot because it gives you that little bit of sweetness. Um, but at the same time, it's actually quite healthy for you. I wouldn't go overboard with it though, like 3 servings, a serving's about a half a cup a day is a great amount to have for fruit and just kind of savor it and enjoy it. I also really like um, low sugar chocolate. And I like chocolate because it's full of flavonols, which is really, really good for you. And it also is rather high in fiber. And I actually have a special bar that I like to recommend for my clients. And I eat it myself. It's called Lily's, Lily, Lily's.
Right.
And it has stevia and some sugar alcohols in it as a substitute for the sugar. I would tell you to go easy on it though, particularly if you have some challenges around your GI tract, because if you eat too much sugar alcohol, that's not good for you either, and it doesn't sit well in your gut. But a small amount, very dark, over 70%, and savor it. Go
Mm.
slow and pay attention, be mindful and conscious and savor it.
I love that. I love the
Yeah.
mindful eating, the idea of mindful eating, and I'm sure that's something that you teach because it is about savoring and really just seeing all the different colors and the vibrancy you see on your plate. I think reflects how it comes, feeds your body and right.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's like I actually feel myself moving more away from nutrition, meaning, eat this, eat that kind of
Mhm.
thing, and more into what do you think your body really needs? Because once you kind of layer off all that crud, people can really learn how to eat intuitively.
Mhm.
And that means sometimes having something like a brownie, but
Mhm.
enjoying the
Yeah.
brownie.
Yes. Yes. Not beating themselves up after it. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
here to be joyful.
Yes, absolutely. That is
Yeah,
our birthright, right? For sure.
right.
And I'm glad that you said fruit because I love fruit, and I think blueberry. I was going to ask you about berries because I think blueberry. I call blueberries brain berries because I think
Yes.
they're really good for your brain. And is that true, or am I?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it definitely is. And those dark berries are really good for your metabolism as well because they're low glycemic, which
Mhm.
means that they don't raise your blood sugar very high. And anything that keeps your blood sugar normalized is really, really good for your brain. And anything that keeps you uninflamed is really good for your brain. And that's what berries do.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. So, is there
So
any? Yeah, the other things that you would say the nevers?
I would. Processed food is a never.
Hmm.
And I don't usually say to people, don't ever eat any particular things, but processed foods we need to stay away from. First of all, they're designed by manufacturers for us to want to eat more, more, more because of the amount of unhealthy fat, sugar, and salt that's in that formulation. And more of them is not really a good idea because they alter the bacteria in our gut, also known as our microbiome, which dictates our health in a huge way.
Hmm.
Like, literally, Hippocrates said, all disease begins in the gut,
Hmm.
and it does. So the
Hmm.
better we take care of our gut, the better for our long term health. And also, those processed foods can interact with our immune system, causing inflammation in the body. So we want to be careful. And then, processed foods are full of trans fats that are also very, very unhealthy for us. The third thing that I would say is refined carbs, meaning carbohydrates that have been stripped of all of their fiber and all of their nutrients, like white pasta and white rice and white flour and all of those things, because they then are just like sugar. We have enzymes in our mouth that start breaking it down right away. By the time it hits our bloodstream, it is exactly the same molecular structure as sugar. So that's like standing at your kitchen counter and eating sugar right out of the sugar bowl. So those are the priority that I put on staying away from in terms of foods.
That's that's doable too. I mean, I think it's doable, but I think people that like I remember hearing always to stay away from the aisles and the stay near the aisles that are fresh foods and anything that's boxed or sealed that could be
Yes.
in there for years. Stay away from right.
Yeah. And the one place to spend the most amount of time in the grocery store, I know
Mhm.
you know the answer to this,
Yes,
and
I do.
that's the produce section.
Yeah. Yes.
Because, when you think about what are the things that we should move towards, and I always like to talk about what should we eat
Let's
instead
do
of how
that.
much
Let's
are we
do that
eating?
now for sure. I would love.
Yeah. But like, vegetables are it. And look, you know what I know? You know this because I know your mother told you this and your mother's mother told you this as well. But you need to, I think, understand it on this level. And that is vegetables are highly, highly anti-inflammatory. The less inflamed you are, the better you're going to feel, the better you're going to look, and the more you're going to prevent disease. So, they call vegetables are king. Let's call them vegetables are queen. And
Yeah.
we do what you were talking about, Liz, and that is have like this plate that is full of this profound pigment, all these beautiful rainbows of color on our plate, because when we do that, all those pigments are nutrients that help tame inflammation in a really big way. And I do talk about that a lot in my book, how important it is to get specific fruits and vegetables too, like the blueberries that you were talking about, very important, but leafy greens and broccoli sprouts are an awesome thing. They have like 1,000 times the power of broccoli.
I'm going to be looking for them. I'm definitely going to be looking for them because I know I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, we should be knocking each other over in the grocery aisles trying to get to those broccoli sprouts, right? And they're so easy to use. You just throw them in a salad, throw them in a soup, throw them on top of a casserole, whatever. They're really, really easy to use and very available. Beets are great. Celery is incredible for inflammation. So, if you're feeling it in your joints and you're looking for, just puree up some celery in a blender and drink it down, and it will help you.
Is there a reason that you're supposed to be blending it and drinking it rather than eating it? Celery, the celery juice rage.
I think you can do it either way. It's just you can get more in if you drink it. Like if you were to eat the same amount of celery, it's a lot of celery to eat. But if you're somebody who really likes to crunch, that would be a good thing for you to do. But for others of us, we would prefer to drink it instead. But you want to drink it whole. You don't want to juice it, because juicing it takes all the fiber out, and that fiber is really good for you. You want a high intensity blender that incorporates it all together at one time.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah. That's important to know that the juicing is. Although is it true that for some people, because this is kind of something for myself that for me, juicing is better first because of my digestion is very slow. I have to be a little careful with the fiber. So, but I would say for people in general, probably the blending is better. But
and as much as you can, though, teach your gut to like fiber. That's a good thing. And the best strategy on that is to go very slow. Okay. I think what we tend to do is say, oh, this is good for me, then I'm going to have 10 times what they're recommending I should have. And that just really makes your gut go, what's going on here? So that, if you have those challenges, just go slow. If you're only eating 2 servings of vegetables right now, just make it 3. Don't drink a celery drink that has 6 stalks of celery in it already, because that's probably not going to go over very well.
Right. Everything kind of, in balance, in moderation. Right. I completely agree. So from your book, I'm just curious if you could share with us maybe 1 or 2 of your high impact nutritional strategies, if that's possible. And I'd love you to show the book. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I have it right here. I have it right by me all the time. It's Cool the Fire, Curb Inflammation, and Balance Hormones. And
easily found on Amazon. I just found it this morning.
You found it on Amazon? Great. Awesome. Fantastic. So those strategies are, the strategies that I use in my practice all the time. I just opened it up to chapter 8, and, it talks about get your fiber fix, because fiber is so important to our health. It's so important to our microbiome, and we don't do a very good job with it in our country. They're saying we should be consuming, 30, 35 grams of fiber a day. And the average American is lucky if they get 12 grams of fiber. So we've got a ways to go on that. And the book will tell you, what are the top 10 fiber foods? What are some simple ways for you to add them into your diet? And then I'll just go to the next one, which is the next chapter, which is focus on healthy fat. And it talks about why it's great for hormone balance, wonderful for inflammation. And then there's 9 healthy fat foods to help tame inflammation that are listed. And the book will tell you exactly how to go ahead and get them simply and conveniently into your diet. And then there's over 150 recipes that are gluten-free and dairy-free. And I'm not saying everybody needs to eat that way. I'm just saying that a lot of my clients that are suffering from inflammation and unbalanced hormones, this is what really helped them. But once they got their gut straightened away, they could do a better job having at least some gluten and some dairy. So that's, primarily what the book talks about. And then, of course, I also talk about some supplements too. My most favorite of the moment being vitamin D, because I think so many people who live north of the 37th latitude, which is Richmond, Virginia, are deficient. And I see it all the time in my practice. And people come to me and they feel horrible. They have no energy, their joints ache, they're depressed. And a lot of them just need to get their vitamin D up. And the best way to do that is to eat vitamin D rich foods, which are like fatty fish and that sort of thing. But I think most people that live north of the 37th latitude need to think about vitamin D supplementation. And there's compelling data right now about COVID and vitamin D playing a huge role in preventing COVID, but also a very, very important role in the treatment of it in ICUs, large amounts of vitamin D to help people. So that's something you want to make sure you know what your number is. And that's as simple as getting a blood test done next time you go to your doctor.
Okay. And do you recommend a certain amount just in to maintain a optimal level? Like not what they say is normal, but optimal.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So your doctor will say it should be over 30. And I really feel like you get much more protection when it's over 50. And it's simple. Just the next time you go to see your doctor for your physical, ask for a vitamin D level. And then if it's deficient, I would tell you to go on 5,000 IUs right away and then go back for follow-up to make sure. If it's very low, I'm pretty sure your doctor is going to be pretty aggressive with you because they have at least that knowledge that if it's very low, they need to do something about it really fast.
Okay. And can you take too much? Is there that?
You could. I mean, you could. Like if you were taking, 10, 20,000 IUs of vitamin D every single day over the course of several years, you probably get a number that's over 100 nanograms. But that's not likely to happen. I have taken 5,000 IUs a day for years, and my doctor loves where mine is because he's knowledgeable about it, and it hovers around 70. And there are just so many benefits of that.
Yeah. Excellent. That's great. I think I think I'm definitely going to be striving for that 70. I'm going soon to get checked. That's where I want to be.
Good. Yeah, I'll be happy to help you out in any way that I can.
Thank you so much. So I saw that, you have this mind body certification, and, that's something that I'm also involved in, mind body health and wellness and practices. So I wanted to hear from you if there's any practices that you could share with us that you do regularly that have helped you to kind of maintain that connection, alignment, mind, body, spirit alignment.
Yes. I hike in nature at least 3 to 4 times a week and sometimes more, but that's my minimum. I do yoga probably 5 times a week. And as part of that yoga, I do some meditation afterwards as well. And I think one of the things, it's sort of like when you're feeling stressed, it's sometimes hard to lie down on the floor and do yoga. But if you can just learn how to deep breathe, I find that that's extraordinarily helpful for me. It's really, really helpful for my clients as well, because I think many, many people overeat or, reach for not the best choice when they're stressed, and deep breathing can make a huge difference for people around that.
I love that. I mean, even like doing, I mean, you know how much I love how powerful I think breath work is, but I think if you even do that deep breathing before you go to eat something, just to
Right.
check in with yourself so that you do maybe stop that, that kind of impulsive eating and choosing, things that are not going to be feeling good in your body later.
And that whole thing about being what you were saying earlier about the mindfulness and really how important that is, that we should be paying attention to what we're doing in
Yeah.
our day. And, I know that for me, there's a lot of mindless stuff that goes on in my life. I'm not as mindful as I would like to be, but I'm more
Mhm.
mindful than I was 10 years ago. So, it's just moving in the right direction. Because
Absolutely.
otherwise, don't we kind of miss life?
Yes, yes. It's about stopping to smell the roses. That's kind of what meditation taught me to do. And it's funny because there's a quote I love. And I the same thing. I don't always remember to be mindful. I mean, it's like it's coming back, coming back, coming back. But there's a quote that mindfulness is really easy. When you remember it, when you remember to be.
Right.
I think that's Sharon Salzberg. And
So, like you said, set your alarm so you remember. And that was
yeah.
very helpful for me.
I do it
Thank you.
every hour. Yep, of course. So let's talk just a little bit about hormones and and menopause. If there's anything that you kind of prescribe or that you feel has been really helpful for keeping our hormones well balanced, or if we're menopausal or perimenopausal or postmenopausal.
Sure. I think the most important thing is just eating a healthy diet that's full of whole foods with, lots of fruits and vegetables and plant food and, lean. If you eat meat, lean meat or seafood or whatever, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, the more you can eat like that, the more balanced your hormones will be. Um, but I do know that, as we go through the aging process, like for example, some of us see a dive in our estrogen level, and that can show up as symptoms.
Mhm.
So I recommend maca to my clients. And I suggest to them that they make sure they get gelatinized maca, which is grown in the Peruvian Andes. Maca is known as Peruvian ginseng, but it's also known as Peruvian Viagra. So it can help in that
Ah,
area as
okay,
well.
great.
And
I was going to ask about that. So,
yeah,
what is maca?
it's a root.
It's
It's
a
just
root.
like a,
Oh,
it's like a
something of
tuber.
okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a plant food. Now, here's something you got to be careful about it, though. And that is that it can be a little bit difficult to digest. So like Liz, you were saying you have, some issues
Slow
with
digestion.
digestion. Yeah. So here's what you want to do. You just want to go slow with it. You don't want to start with 1 to 2 tablespoons of maca a day. Start with a quarter of a teaspoon, experience that for about a week, up it to a half, go for a week, up it to 3/4, get it to a teaspoon, and just slowly add it in until you get to somewhere between a tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. You probably get a little digestive kickback and you'll know, okay, I need to back off.
Okay. Okay. And that's it. And once a day, or do you just keep taking that always?
once
And
once a day, but I'll tell you what, a couple of years ago I had a tooth implant done. It was brutal and it kind of kicked my butt. I was shocked that it kicked my butt. And I kind of went to I'm like, what's wrong with me? So I kind of went to my hormone evaluation. I thought, oh yeah, I see it. My estrogen's going down. It's not just the implant. And so I started to take the maca. I took it for about 6 months, snapped me right back to my same energy level. And I don't use it right now, but I have it in my toolbox to use it if I feel like I need it.
okay. I love that. I love the
Yeah.
toolbox. Having things in your toolbox, right? Um,
Right.
so, is anything for strong bones? Anything for strong bones? Because I know that that's something that some women, feel that that's, and if you don't have strong bones in later in life, that's not going to be a great thing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Definitely vitamin D. You will not absorb your calcium effectively unless you're taking vitamin D. So if you're deficient, it kind of, and I do think that that's probably at the root of some of the osteoporosis that we see happening in, our society. So vitamin D, obviously calcium, I think everyone knows about that, but a calcium magnesium balance of about 2 to 1. So take twice as much calcium as you take magnesium. And I do notice that, with many of my clients, they are magnesium deficient. I think it's a trend. So many of your listeners may be as well. So magnesium is important. Green leafy vegetables. I swear to you, Liz, if people would eat 2 cups of them a day, I probably would not even have a nutrition practice. It really kind of is that simple and true. Vitamin K has also been found to be very helpful when it comes to osteoporosis as well. And yoga. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I practice yoga on a regular basis. I've been practicing it very regularly since for the last 20 years, but I was actually introduced to it when I was in my 20s, believe it or not.
I love that.
Back in the late 60s, early 70s. So that's about what I would say.
Because it keeps you flexible, right? It keeps you able to move the way you want to move, which is
it does.
Yeah.
And that is youth right there.
That's it. Absolutely. Right. Stand upright and being able to move and bend down and pick things up that are heavy and move them. Absolutely. So just a couple of like kind of wrapping up questions.
Okay.
So if age was not a factor, is there anything you'd like to try or experience or learn?
I actually thought about this, and I don't want to sound like a goofball, but I really don't let age get in my way. There's nothing that I won't do because of the age that I am.
That's it. That's the way to be. That's the way to be ageless. I love it. And so define success for me. How do you define success?
I think it's really about finding your purpose and serving other people. And when you can find that, I think you're like totally in the cradle of success. And I'm just so grateful that I figured that out. And I actually was quite lucky that I figured it out at a very young age. But to be fully transparent, I actually moved away from what made me happy about nutrition and health and worked less directly with people and more in management and administration and sales and marketing and all of that, and moved away from what my true love was. But I'm finally back there because 10 years ago, what I was doing, sort of like the rug got pulled out from underneath me. And it was like, what am I going to do with the last 10 years of my life? And it was like, I'm going to go back to exactly the reason why I got involved in nutrition in the first place. And that is to help people transform their lives, because I don't know anything that's really anything more rewarding than doing that on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I mean, seeing people's transformation, it's such an honor and a privilege and a rewarding experience for the one who's with a witness and the helper, the guide, or whatever you would call it. But yeah, I can imagine that probably came a little bit from being in the hospital, like when you were working for a hospital and all the bureaucracy that was involved in that probably is just, yes.
Yeah, you had some of that too, I take it.
Yes, I remember when I was a social worker, just all that, that's not what I like to do. I liked the one-on-one helping people and seeing the results. And so
me too.
I'm with you on that one too. So what does being an ageless goddess mean to you? I have to ask everybody that.
Oh, yeah. And I just
it's not about what it is for me. It's about what it is for you and how you can express that.
Totally. And I would say that it's really about being in the best possible shape that I can be, physically, spiritually, and mentally, so that I can kind of face every single day with a tremendous amount of energy. Sorry about that phone ringing. Mm-hmm. So that I can truly make a difference in the world. Because if I don't have the energy that I need, I can't do the job that I need to do. And I think really, if we can just be a source of light for other people in the world, that's ageless goddess to me. Mm-hmm. Because you know what? we've actually created all this wisdom.
Yeah.
We have all this wisdom.
Yes.
And now if we have energy, we can share it all.
Absolutely. And we are meant to share it. We are meant to share it and to be heard and to be, seen and all of that. I love that. And I love that reference to the light. I have to say, watching Jill Biden with her coat with the little crystals, I was like, she's wearing that like because she just is bringing the light.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's so great. I love that.
So
And the
good.
light last night by the Washington Monument, did you see that? That was just
I
gorgeous.
didn't see it, but I will be seeing. I know my mother
you
already
have to
told
see
me
it.
to do that.
You will love it.
I will
love it.
absolutely love it. So this has been so great. How can people get in touch with you? Because I'm sure there are people, that are struggling with these things. And I really want us all to have exactly what you just defined as, an ageless goddess, really being optimally healthy and feeling energy and feel to share their gifts with the world.
Right. And if you want to hear more from me, you can go to my website, which is ruthclarkrd.com. And you can also join my Facebook group, which is Eating for Balance. And I do a Facebook Live every Friday morning at 8 a.m., which, of course, if you can't watch it then, no problem. You can catch it later. But if you can, it's always great to have you there because I love having people's energy and playing off of that. But those are two great ways. And then, of course, as you said, the book, Cool the Fire, Curb Inflammation, and Balance Hormones is a great way, to maybe understand, what I'm all about and what we might be able to achieve together.
I'm so excited to get the book. I mean, the whole fiber section, I have to get my son to eat more fiber. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at the recipes because I'm gluten and dairy free. So I'm very excited.
Excellent.
Yes.
I love your feedback.
Absolutely. I appreciate you and thank you so much for being my first guest on Women's Wednesday Wisdom series. And I look forward to collaborating with you more. I think you're wonderful and have so much to teach us and just your whole spirit.
I do look forward to it as well. And all of that right back at you, Liz. Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
Much.
Let's do this again.
Great. I would love it.
Great. Awesome.